She screamed before I could even step out of my truck. "You can't park here. This is private property." Her voice echoed through the pine trees like a siren. I looked at her, perfectly pressed polo, clipboard in hand, like she was about to inspect Heaven's Gate. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this isn't HOA land. This cabin is mine now." She blinked fast, confused for a second, then pointed at the old wooden porch like it was a crime scene. "That cabin belongs to the HOA perimeter. You're trespassing." I didn't answer right away. The smell of old pine and fresh paint surrounded me. I'd bought this forgotten cabin from an auction last month, a quiet place to rebuild my life after leaving the city. The paperwork was sitting in my glove compartment, but I wanted to see how far she'd go before I showed it. "Trespassing?" I asked. "You sure about that?" Her nostrils flared. "Don't play smart. I'm the community head, and nothing happens here without my permission." She walked closer, snapping pictures with her phone like she was building a case. I noticed a small gold badge hanging from her neck. Not real, but it looked official enough to fool someone. "You have 10 minutes to leave before I call the cops," she said. I gave a slow smile. "Go ahead." Her eyes widened as if she wasn't used to people standing up to her. Then she stormed off, muttering, "You'll regret this. You'll regret ever stepping foot here." As she disappeared down the dirt road, I leaned against my truck and sighed. I knew people like her. They thrived on control, rules, and fear. But she picked the wrong man this time. Because unlike what she thought, I wasn't just some stranger moving into her territory. I had a reason to be here. And something told me this wasn't going to be her last visit. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of car engines and voices outside. When I stepped onto the porch with my coffee mug, I froze. Karen was back, this time with 2 men wearing security uniforms that looked off. No badges, no name tags, just plain black shirts and radios clipped to their belts. "There he is!" she shouted, pointing at me like I was a fugitive. "That's the trespasser. Arrest him!" The taller officer stepped forward. "Sir, this area is restricted. You need to vacate immediately." I tilted my head. "Restricted? This cabin's on County Road 47, outside the HOA line. You sure you're in the right place?" Karen crossed her arms. "Don't try to sound smart. The HOA extends up to the ridge that includes this land." I put my mug down slowly. "You might want to check your map before giving orders." One of the fake cops moved toward my truck. "We'll impound this vehicle if you don't comply." I almost laughed. "You guys got a warrant for that?" They didn't answer. The shorter one looked nervous, glancing at Karen like he was waiting for direction. She snapped, "Do it. Show him we mean business." That's when I decided to end the little performance. I opened the truck door, took out a folder, and flipped it open. "Here's the county deed," I said, holding it up. "Signed, sealed, and recorded 3 weeks ago. You see that line? That's your HOA border, half a mile south." Karen's confident smirk faltered. That can't be right." The taller fake cop leaned over to look at the paper, then stepped back, whispering something to her. She clenched her fists, face red as fire. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You can't just buy land here and think you're above the rules." I looked her straight in the eyes. "Lady, I'm not above the rules. I just actually know them." As they left, I noticed one of their cars had no license plate. That's when it clicked. These weren't real cops at all. And if Karen was desperate enough to hire fake ones, something bigger was coming. That night, the woods felt too quiet. Even the crickets had gone silent. I was sitting by the fireplace checking the locks when I noticed headlights flash through the window. Someone was outside again. I stepped out slowly, keeping my flashlight low. Karen's SUV was parked at the edge of my driveway, engine still running. She was talking on her phone, pacing like she was ready for battle. I stayed hidden behind a tree and listened. "Yes, I want him out tonight," she hissed. "He's squatting on HOA property. Do whatever you need, just make it look legal." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. So she was trying to frame me now. I walked closer, and the dry leaves cracked beneath my boots. She turned fast, her flashlight landing right on me. "What are you doing sneaking around?" she snapped. I stepped into the light. "I could ask you the same thing. You're trespassing now." She scoffed. "Don't play games with me. I called the county this morning. They said no one bought this land." "That's funny," I said, pulling out my phone and opening an email. "Because this I showed her the official county confirmation with my name and date of transfer. Says otherwise. Her expression changed. Panic, fear, then anger. You forged that. I'll prove it, she screamed. Before I could answer, another car pulled up, a black sedan with tinted windows. A man stepped out wearing a suit. He looked official. Too official for this midnight drama. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "step away from his property." Karen froze. "Who are you?" The man flashed a badge. "County Attorney's Office. We've received complaints about HOA overreach in this area." I didn't say a word. She stared at both of us, speechless for once. Then she whispered, You called them?" I smiled faintly. "Didn't have to. Turns out the county's been watching this neighborhood for a while." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't dare speak. As the attorney walked toward her, I knew this was just the beginning, because Karen wasn't the type to back off. She was the type to strike harder when cornered. 2 days later, the storm hit, both the real one and the one named Karen. Rain pounded the cabin roof as I fixed the window seals, trying to keep the water out. That's when I heard the sound of engines again. Not one, but several. I peeked outside and saw 3 pickup trucks parked near my gate. Karen was standing in the mud with a handful of men in work vests. She shouted through the rain, "We're removing this illegal structure. It violates HOA boundary codes." I stepped outside, water soaking my boots instantly. "You're insane, Karen. This isn't your jurisdiction." She smirked, waving a paper in her hand. "Oh, but it is. We filed a motion with the county to reclaim this land. Said it was abandoned property taken fraudulently. Your little auction? Invalid." Her crew started pulling out chains and tools, ready to tear down my fence. My heart pounded. "You touch that gate and you're committing a crime," I warned. One man hesitated, but Karen barked, "Do it. I'll handle the legal side." I pulled out my phone camera, recording. "Perfect. Keep going. I'll need this footage." Her smirk faltered. "You think a video will save you?" Just then, a loud siren pierced through the thunder. 2 real sheriff cars rolled up, lights flashing red and blue through the rain. Karen's men froze. She turned around, her confident tone gone. One of the deputies stepped out. "Ma'am, we've had multiple reports of unauthorized demolition here. Care to explain?" Karen tried to sound calm. "This man's trespassing. This cabin belongs to the HOA." The deputy raised a brow. "Funny. County records show this property is owned by..." He looked down at his tablet. "Mr. Daniel Hayes, that you?" I nodded, showing my ID. The deputy nodded back. "Then I suggest everyone else step off his land." Karen's voice cracked. "You can't. This is a mistake." The deputy took the paper from her hand, glanced at it, then smirked. "This isn't a court order, ma'am. It's a photocopy of your HOA rule book." Her face turned white. As her workers backed away, I caught her glaring at me through the rain, shaking with fury. She whispered something I barely heard. "You'll regret this." And for the first time, I realized she wasn't just doing this for power. There was something personal behind her rage. That night, the rain had stopped, but the air was still thick with tension. I couldn't sleep. Karen's words kept echoing in my head. "You'll regret this." I'd seen her type before, but this one wasn't just obsessed with control. She was hiding something. Around midnight, I noticed a dim light flickering near the back fence. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out quietly. When I got closer, I saw someone digging near the tree line, and it wasn't just anyone. It was Karen. "Working late, are we?" I said, my voice cutting through the dark. She gasped and spun around, dirt on her hands, eyes wild. "You shouldn't be here." I stepped closer, lighting up the ground she'd been digging. There was an old metal box half buried in the mud. "What's that?" I asked. "None of your business," she snapped, trying to block it with her foot, but it was too late. The lid had popped open just enough for me to see the papers inside. Property records, old ones, some with her name scratched out and rewritten, others marked void. I looked up slowly. "You forged deeds, didn't you?" She froze, eyes darting around like a trapped animal. "You don't understand," she stammered. "This land was supposed to be mine. My husband built that cabin before he died. The HOA took it from me." For a second, her voice cracked, but only for a second. Then, her mask snapped back on. "So, if I can't have it, no one will." She lunged for the box, but I grabbed it first. "This is over, Karen. Whatever you did here, the county's going to find out." Her face twisted. "You think they'll believe you over me? I've run this community for 12 years. I looked at her calmly. Then I guess 12 years is long enough. I started walking back toward the cabin with the box under my arm. Behind me, I could hear her shouting through the darkness, "You'll destroy everything." I didn't look back because I already knew. The moment I opened that box, everything she'd built on lies was about to collapse. The next morning, I drove straight to the county office with that rusted metal box sitting on my passenger seat. The sun was barely up, but I wanted to end this before Karen could spin another story. When I stepped inside, the clerk at the counter looked up. "Back again, Mr. Hayes?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, setting the muddy box on her desk. "I think you'll want to see this." We opened it together. Inside were dozens of altered deeds, stamped signatures, and fake HOA claims. Some dated back 10 years. A few even had county seals that didn't match any real record. The clerk's eyes widened. "These are forged. Whoever did this has been stealing land." Before I could reply, a deep voice came from behind. "We've been waiting for proof like this." I turned to see the same county attorney from before. He nodded at the documents. "Karen's been under investigation for property fraud. You just gave us exactly what we needed." It felt good for a moment until my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, and a familiar voice hissed through the line. "You think you've won? Check your cabin." My stomach sank. I jumped into my truck and sped back down the mountain road. The closer I got, the thicker the smoke became. When I turned the corner, my heart dropped. The cabin, my cabin, was burning. Flames tore through the roof, black smoke curling into the sky. "No!" I shouted, running forward, but the heat pushed me back. The sheriff's truck arrived minutes later, sirens wailing. The deputy from before grabbed my shoulder. "She did this?" "She called me," I said through clenched teeth. "She wanted me to see it burn." The deputy's jaw tightened. "We'll find her." As firefighters fought the flames, I stood in the rain-soaked mud, watching everything I'd built turn to ash. But even through the smoke, I made myself a promise. If she wanted a war, she just started one. By sunrise, the fire was out, but the damage was total. The cabin was nothing more than blackened beams and smoke rising into the cold air. I stood there, holding the only thing that survived, that old metal box of evidence. The sheriff came over, his boots crunching on the wet gravel. "We found tire tracks leading out to Highway 6, he said. "She didn't get far. We're already tracking her." I nodded silently, but inside I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done being the victim. A few hours later, I met the county attorney again, this time at the courthouse. "We've issued a warrant," he said. "She'll be arrested for arson, forgery, and fraud. But we also found something else." He pulled out a file with my property name on it. Inside were letters, all written by Karen, complaints, false ownership claims, even a few threats. But one line stood out. "If the county sells that cabin, I'll take it back by any means necessary." I stared at the paper, then back at him. "She planned this for years," he nodded, "and she nearly got away with it. You caught her just in time." That evening, as I drove back toward what was left of the cabin, I saw flashing lights ahead. 2 sheriff cruisers were parked on the roadside. Karen was standing there in handcuffs, her once perfect hair a tangled mess. She looked up as I pulled over. "You think you won?" she spat, her voice shaking. "But that land will haunt you. It's cursed with everything they took from me." I walked closer, rain dripping off my jacket. "No, Karen. It's cursed with everything you did to people like me." She glared, eyes burning with hatred. "You ruined my life." I held her gaze. "You burned your own." The deputies guided her into the back of the cruiser. For the first time since I'd arrived, the air around the cabin felt quiet, heavy but peaceful. As the car drove away, I turned toward the ashes of my cabin. It hurt to see it gone, but deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. I still had her box of forged deeds, and inside, more names, more victims. Karen wasn't the only one involved, and if I was going to rebuild, I wasn't just rebuilding a cabin, I was rebuilding justice.